What's the most important thing you learned about writing as a new writer who has experience in comics, but he's taken the first challenge to write a six-issue arc? Like, what did you learn on this journey?
That's a great question. With writing, I thought it would be easy. Luckily, in comics, since you lean so heavily on the art, and I guess because of the fact is it's kind of like disposable medium and it's like a monthly thing, the standards aren't very high. But I wouldn't I wouldn't take it too lightly because what I did is I took a lot of classes, and most of my learning came from YouTube. So I would consume all the material out there about writing for comics, and there's not that much. You can really get through all of that in about a week because there isn't just that much about out there. So if you want to learn more, then you'd have to go to like AuthorTube and Book Talk and film criticism, screenplay writing, and there's thousands and thousands of hours about that stuff. So I just consumed all of that. I just loved it. It's, as a process junkie, um, it was a lot of fun just to learn how this works. I always loved going to the movies, and then when the movie's really good, it kind of sticks with me long after the movie's over, and I think about it over and over again, and it would affect me longer than it would affect most people. And I thought whoever wrote it has this kind of special power, and I really want to know how they did that.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
I
so
read a
long
lot of
story.
books on screenwriting as well. I find screenwriting is very close to comics when you
Yeah,
understand the
yeah,
difference in the medium. A lot of the things about pacing and visual storytelling there's a lot of overlap between the two.
yeah, yeah. I think it's good in some ways, and then also a little bit bad in some ways because overwhelmingly it was a good thing to do because I also read all those books, like Save the Cat and Story Genius, and I took the Robert McKee story class like maybe a quarter century ago, and so all of that stuff. Um, I think the way it's really good information about storytelling, like storytelling from the Aristotle, was it Poetics, the
Yeah,
original
Aristotle's Poetics,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
So that's the kind of model that we use for modern storytelling that really works for basically humanity can grasp the story like that, and then it has meaning to us. So it was put in that guide all the way back then, and it still is around today. So if you understand all that stuff, you can make a story that really catches on.
Yeah.
So the only way I think that it does some harm is because if you take a real deep dive into all that stuff, the tutorials on writing for movies and for novels, the stakes are so high that the bar is set so high for that. Like if you write a screenplay, there's almost no chance it's ever going to be made. And if you were to write a novel, I think Penguin Random House says that they reject 99% of everything that gets submitted.
Mhm.
So that stuff that they teach you, the stakes are so high. It's like they're trying to get you into that 1%. So they always say it's very difficult. You have to master it on such a high level. So when it came to writing Evermind, since most of my learning was from book and screenplay writing, I just didn't think I was doing anything right. So I'd rewrite and revise like maybe like 20 times. But then, my comic book writing peers like, oh, you just, revise it once because it's just comics. And the danger is you may never finish and you may not feel great about your work because when it comes to the standards of screenplays and novels, it's probably not as good. But for comics, you're probably way above the bar in comics. So it just messes with you. And this story I've been working on for over 2 years, and it's only 6 issues. It didn't have to be that long, but I get confused when it comes to like how to pressure test your story. All that stuff was from the screenplay and novel tutorials.
So did you kind of like write out the script beforehand and then kind of come to the conclusion it was going to be 6 issues, or did you kind of set your goal? Okay, I'm going to write 6 issues and kind of fit into these 6 issues kind of, and are the 6 issues kind of fixed amount of pages, or do they kind of vary in content as
Yeah,
well?
that's a very good question. I didn't plan it too well. My publisher said 6 issues is what we do here. So you've got to fit it within 6 issues. But the caveat there is an issue can be any length. The danger there is they only pay a flat fee an issue.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know, maybe he was being very smart because he knows that if this is your baby, if you're writing it, you're always going to need more pages.
It's so true.
Yeah. And that's on you. So the project gets more in depth. You can explore theme more deeply. You can do very layered characters because you want to do that, but it's going to cost you. It's going to require more than 20 pages. So some of those issues are 40 pages long, and we certainly don't get paid for 40 pages, but this is sort of like my baby. So altogether, the 6th issue really comes out to like over 9 issues of story. Because
Wow.
the story is like, it's, if you read Watchmen, it's very dense in terms of theme and character.
Yeah.
And
Well, Sheldon is asking here, did you check out Alan Moore's book on writing comics?
oh yeah, it's one of the best. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's
I love
from an article from an interview, I think, that was turned into a book, I believe, right,
Yeah,
Sheldon?
and I took the master class too, where you can actually see him talk and
Yeah, I
so
caught
great.
that on YouTube. I've totally downloaded all his excerpts, and I'm going to go through them again. I've also picked up the Peter David's book on writing comics, which I'm currently reading. I'm kind of like, I think, a third of the way through. And very good stuff, some basic stuff, and then some stuff that gets you thinking.
Yeah.
And basic stuff is not bad. You always have to make sure you got the basics down with your story, right?
Right. Fundamentals are very important.
Yeah.
And I found that Brandon Sanderson, how generous he is with his classes. He just wants to teach writing and doesn't need any money for it. So he'll basically tape all of his lectures, and then just you can watch it on YouTube. There's like, I don't know how many hours. Like, it's an entire semester of writing class.
Oh wow!
For free, yeah. And I found that to be the most useful because it's very in depth. So it's mostly about fantasy writing, but it can apply to science fiction and also for comics too.
Now, did I hear you mention Save the Cat a little bit ago?
Well, Save the Cat is the one that everyone reads, but yeah, that's the biggest.
I am ashamed to say I have not read that yet. I should put that on a priority to be read list.
Yeah, it's very good. I think the one criticism about it is that what it says is, I think Blake Snyder is the person that wrote it, noticed something about a lot of the movies that he watched is that they all follow the same template. So basically he gives you that template, and you can almost like just take your subject matter and then plop it into that template and have the inciting incident on page 20, have the midpoint, and you can make a 120 page screenplay and just kind of put it through the machine. But I don't really think you can get by doing that, but that seems to be what it encourages. So but yeah, it just goes to show, like, stories are all kind of like the appeal of it is very universal. The types of things that happen, like the hero's journey is fairly typical, and I think the danger there is that you might think that you can just do it like what we call like a Mad Libs, where you just put a noun here, put an action here, and then you can kind of make up a story. But yeah, it's very good in that it shows you exactly why things are the way they are in stories. One of the things that I discovered that was an obsession to me lately is when you put out your story, when you guys put out your story on Kickstarter and people buy it, and when people read it, you can have like an outcome like on a spectrum, whether on one end there's this one thing called unputdownable, meaning that once they start reading it, they can't put it down, and that's a quality that we all should have. I mean,
I'm going to put glue on the back of my comic so people can't put it down.
Exactly, right. Yeah, so then the opposite of that, on the other end of the spectrum, is really a sad thing called DNF, which means did not finish. And so it's where you fall along that spectrum of did not finish and unputdownable. And what I've become obsessed with lately is that I've discovered a lot of people are saying, a lot of these experts saying that unputdownable is a quality that can be taught and it can be learned. And it's not easy, but it's something that we can be aware of, and we can put it in our stories so that no matter what the subject matter is, no matter how exciting or whatever, you can lay out the story in a way that once they start, they just can't put it down. They just carry through the whole thing. And that's like a superpower that I would like to have. And all of my studies about storytelling is basically how to get to that unputdownable, because that makes you one of the most valuable people in Hollywood, right? To reliably be able to hold an audience for 2 or 3 seasons of a streaming show or something.
Do you think about unputdownable when you're deciding what the layouts for your pages are and like the page turns in like combined with while you're writing it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think when you say unput down, to a lot of people, they immediately think of the one thing, which is to put a cliffhanger at the end of the book and at the end of every page. And I think that's the most basic thing that you should do. It's the most obvious thing. But what I found, like, if you did put a cliffhanger, like, at the end of the issue, someone is shot and they don't know whether they live, you can still get to that point and then not really care if that person lives or dies. So unputdownable is more than having something exciting happen at the end where you don't have to leave a little bit of a mystery as to what exactly happened, whether the person lived or not. So it really starts before that. It's like making you care. Like, for example, the book Save the Cat is named Save the Cat because in order to care about the protagonist and follow his story, no matter how much of a flawed character he is, or whether he's an anti-hero or a bad guy, there's got to be a scene you put in there where he saves a cat. I mean, not specifically a cat, but that he has redeeming qualities. And I think as human beings, there's something in our brain where we pay attention to people who have good values. So if in your story, he doesn't save a cat at some point, or, is kind to a child or to like a waitress or something, or takes pity on someone, your brain doesn't latch onto them, so that when he dies in the end, or there's a risk of him dying, we don't know because it's a cliffhanger, we may not care. So that's one of the ways that you make this unputdownable thing. That's one of the things is to, and it's funny, you can watch it in a lot of these books and movies, a scene where they do that. Like, why is she trying to rescue this spider from a sink and then putting it outside? There's a very specific reason that scene is there, is so that you'll care and watch to the end. It's so, that's, you can go into a really, really deep dive on that subject. I probably went too far already.
No, that's fascinating stuff. You got me on edge. Like, yeah, I can't put down this interview now because I'm like, I want this superpower. I'm just afraid that I'll become an unputdownable supervillain. You will never put down my
That's a
books.
tricky one, right? A villain that everybody despises, but at the
Yeah.
same time they love.
Yeah, even Thanos, which is like, he's like a threat to the entire universe. We see that, like, he just cared too much about, like, the universe being okay. And if it means taking a very difficult decision and getting rid of half the living things in the universe is probably the only way to save the universe, he was going to do it. He's going to make that very difficult decision. And we sympathize with everyone who makes, parents have to make a very difficult decision sometimes.